Hi, I'm Sandy.
And I'm Danielle.
Welcome to Daniel's Book Reviews. What book are we reviewing today, Daniel?
The series is called Wereworld, and the first book is called The Rise of the Wolves.
Oh, I guess that explains why we have wolves in our background.
Yeah.
So, I'm guessing that from the title of the series, this doesn't take place in our world.
No, this takes place in a world where there are like lords, and they're basically like the rulers. Like there's boars, and they're like the lords of this town, and otters, and foxes, and lions, and all
So,
this.
so a were creature, though, to be clear, is it, do they transform at like the full moon or like whenever
Uh,
they
they
feel like
can
it?
they can transform whenever they feel like it.
Okay, so it's like, it's not like, it's not like a curse. It's actually like something they can control.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, And there's different, I guess it's like a feudal system, like the medieval times. Like there's like a lord, and then they have like an area that they control with like peasants.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. But all the lords are were creatures.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool.
For like hundreds of years, like the wolves have ruled like as like the main king.
Hmm.
And yeah, the gray wolves. There's also white wolves in like another town, but
Okay.
that's
But
not
the
a
Grey Wolves were like the historical kings.
kings. Yeah.
Okay.
And one day, this lion, Leopold, I think, it takes over, and is like, I'm gonna be the king now.
Okay.
And he tries to kill all the wolves.
Hmm.
Yeah. One. Okay. So Drew is the main character,
Uh-huh.
and like he's just a simple shepherd.
Right.
And one day, like when his brother and father go out to like the market or something, his like this monster comes, and this monster comes and like kills his mother, and it can also speak, and like he transforms into like this like another monster, like a werewolf.
Uh,
Like he finally figures out that he's like a werewolf, and like he tries to like fight the monster, and he leaves a scar, and the monster runs away.
so yeah, okay. So this is like, I mean, there's a lot of stories that start like this, right? Even I think King Arthur kind of starts like this. Like, didn't he kill off, like, wasn't there somebody that killed off all of the royal line and Arthur was like adopted or something?
And they tried to kill the royal line, but like there's one that like escaped, and it's
Yeah.
simple peasant family, like yeah. And the dad was one of the wolf guard, and that's
Hmm.
like yeah, the guard for king.
So in this world, going back to, because I think the interesting thing here is the world itself. The character and the story. I mean, the character may be interesting too, but the story seems pretty straightforward, like pretty much what you'd expect from the Lost Prince
uh
kind of.
yeah, the Wegar, the old Wolf King, he was like he like really liked battles. He was like straightforward, like stubborn. Drew, and like yeah, he goes like ahead without thinking.
Hmm.
Drew, he like thinks, and he's like way different from the old Wolf King. And he also like thinks about others, and he like yeah, and he also
So
will like yeah, and he also thinks humans shouldn't be used as like yeah, they should also be allowed positions of power.
okay, so he's much more egalitarian. That's a big word, but it means that everyone is equal.
Yeah, he's yeah.
Um, Now, how is, so if he's the last, like, I don't understand how, is it hereditary? Is the werewolfness hereditary?
The okay, I'll talk about more about like the where hair. Most of the time, like so if like a werewolf and like a another like a wereboar have like a son. Most of the time, the father takes like is the son
Like the,
takes the father trait,
okay,
were power. But sometimes like it can take the mother's were power.
okay. There's no like hybrids. Like you don't have anyone who can like choose to be either a wereboar or a werewolf, right?
No.
And it's not like the curse where you're infected if you get attacked by a werewolf or something.
Um,
Or is
more
that a
about that.
maybe?
That's
That's
a
a
maybe. Later
okay.
in the book, yeah, it's different.
Okay. So that's interesting. Um, now have you read the whole series or just have you just started?
I have read the whole series, and there is 6 books.
Okay. So without spoiling it, were there any surprises or like did the story go in a different direction at any point than what you expected?
I mean, they got um later in the book, their main enemy doesn't become like the lions; it becomes the people from a different country far away.
Okay. So like there's a different plot after the political stuff
But it's
gets
like that's
fixed.
where the lions came from, though. This different country,
I see. So interesting. Um,
like
yeah, it seems like, I mean, I don't know. Like it seems like it's probably based on a bunch of historical fiction type things just set with a fantasy world where you don't, instead of having royal families, you have like these actual powers that are passed down.
yeah.
Um, it's actually ironic because in the real world, because like all the royal families are of like Europe are actually related, because they all intermarried and stuff. And yeah, uh, that's but
They
it
did that to
what
like reinforce the yeah to get
the
more
bloodline.
power.
Well, they thought, that the royal blood was special, so they wanted to keep it, concentrated. But actually, what that means is that all of these recessive traits, like it made them weaker and weaker
Oh yeah,
until,
like most later in the book, he doesn't like really know anything about werewolves. He asks, "Can like werelords like marry other families?" And like they say, "Yeah, of course," because otherwise the blood would get weak. So lots of the time they marry other families.
yeah,
Sometimes
that's
mostly political. Or yeah,
I mean, and that's interesting because, like I said, in the real world, we did exactly the opposite. Like it was like you'd marry cousins almost because you didn't want to go outside of the royal family. Um, but that's cool. So, did you learn anything from this book, or was it just interesting to explore like this wereworld?
um, I don't think. I mean, there may be like somewhere that I forgot, but mostly I didn't learn anything.
So it was just a fun read.
I mean, maybe if I didn't know that many animals, I would learn some animals, but like I do know a lot of animals, so
Yeah. So it was mostly just a fun read. Like you got to like experience this plot that happens and yeah, cool. A big difference from your kid detective uh or kid lawyer books last time.
yeah.
So having like alternated between these, and you've alternated quite a bit between kind of different genres, fantasy, historical fiction, and I think you look for different things in each of them. So in a good fantasy book, do you look for like, would you call this a good fantasy book?
Yeah, it's entertaining. It's yeah, I like it.
But you're not looking for, like you said, you didn't really learn anything from it. It was just fun to read.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
even the kid lawyer books, I didn't learn that much.
Okay. So, but they're interesting in a different way, right?
Yeah.
Like those are kind of like seeing a kid that is like you in kind of real world situations that are
I mean,
exceptional.
his problems aren't really real world in the kid lawyer book.
but like it could be. Like you can empathize with them.
I mean,
I'm
maybe
not,
if you, I mean, they could be similar, I guess.
but I mean, can you empathize with Drew being the last werewolf
I
and
mean, he
trying to take
doesn't,
back a country?
he really doesn't want to become a king, like at all. He just wants to be like a shepherd and doesn't want to become a king, so.
Oh, so do you sympathize with that? Do you also not want to be a king?
I mean, I guess you could like sympathize with him, and if like you didn't really want this job, but like you had to get this job. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're a little young to maybe be jaded about a job that you don't even have yet.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good point though. Like a lot of the reasons why we read books are to experience things that we ourselves won't ever like necessarily be in the position for. And I think it's obvious that Drew is like a well thought out character that you enjoyed seeing his adventures, even though you don't actually like you're not the one ever going to go through things like that.
No. Hopefully not. Maybe not.
Maybe
Probably not.
not. I, are you secretly heir to a kingdom that you
I
have
mean,
to
I
take
want
back?
to. It would be cool if I could become a wolf.
Let's I mean, if it's passed down from the father, I'm pretty sure I'm not a werewolf, so I don't think you are
It could
either.
become. It could be from the mother, but I don't think my mom's a werewolf either.
Well, that's too bad, I guess, or maybe not. I don't know. What do you think will be your next books after this? Are you going to go back to like a normal fiction book, or are you going to try for more fantasy?
I'm reading this one book. I finished it last night. It's called My Side of the Mountain. I might review that.
Okay. I think I've heard of that. But yeah, that's cool. Anything else about this book that you'd recommend it to other people or
Nope, I basically summed it up.
cool. Well, that was a nice, interesting, uh, I guess, relationship between were people and royal families. I guess that's
Yeah.
why they're called werelords instead of just lords. They're just actually, yeah, okay, that makes sense now. Um, cool. Well, that was good. I guess we'll see next week about maybe my side of the mountain or something different. I don't know. It's always a surprise. Depends on
Most of the time. Most of the
maybe you'll
time.
read something interesting between now and then that you'll want to review.
A couple of the times, it's not a surprise.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. Be sure to what, like and subscribe.
Yeah,
And
like
what's
and
the other
subscribe.
what's the other thing with the
Hit the bell,
right? All right.
notifications.
So that you know when we post a new one. All
Yeah.
right. Bye.
Bye.